Raphi Salem here with Manhattan Edit Workshop. We've got Josh Apter and Jason Banke, and we're just going to be talking about what the latest trends are in the movie and film industry, and what's going on in theaters, as well as what's going on online. So, Josh, we'll start with you. You're traveling this summer.
I'm in New Orleans for the week. My son is in jazz camp, so he's got 3 days left. And we actually went to a concert that was a benefit for the organization. It's the Louis Satchmo Armstrong Jazz Camp. It's 30 years old, and they had a benefit last night. And so you paid a little money but all the teachers and then the artists in residence who were there for the summer played, and it was just like some of the best jazz I've heard. I mean, I don't get out much here. I'm sure people in New Orleans hear this kind of stuff every day, but I was blown out of my seat. It was just unreal how much talent there was in that room last night.
All right. And Jason, where are you this summer? Are you traveling at all?
Well, I don't want my kids to hear, but in August we are heading to the Mouse Land. So there. So I don't really want to say it too loud, but that other than that, no, pretty low key. But the Mouse Land is a big trip. So
okay. It's good that we have this code. So all right. So Josh, you and I have been on a couple of planes in the past couple of weeks. See any good new releases on the planes or in? I mean, will you go to theaters? Do you go to theaters?
I'm going more now because the experience is, it's just I miss that sort of big community. I used to be wistfully describe it as like, it's our folklore, right? Like that's how we tell stories around a campfire, is just we invite a group of 100 people into a room, turn the lights out, and share an experience. And I think I haven't had an experience in a theater yet since the pandemic where it's like you can feel the room, the energy of the room so much.
really?
As much as
I had that experience with the Spider-Man movie. You didn't have that?
No, we went late. We didn't go, on an opening. I want to go see something on like opening day with a good crowd, because I do remember I saw Rushmore opening day in Chelsea with a packed crowd. The movie killed. It was amazing. I mean, everybody was cracking up. Everybody was enjoying every minute. And I dragged my friends, Alan and his then girlfriend, I was like 2 days later on a Sunday or something. I was like, you got to see this movie. It's the greatest movie. And we were like 3 of 8 people in the entire theater, and the movie died. And I sat there wanting it to be as good as it was 2 days ago, like crumbling in my seat, wondering what was wrong with the movie. And that's when it really dawned on me that a lot of the movie is the experience of going to it and the energy of the people you're with. And there was no energy in the room. And the movie did not play the same way in an empty room as it did in a crowd. But look, a movie should stand up on its own, right? It's, I do think that that's part of what going to a theater is about. But it shouldn't be required to enjoy the movie.
So it's super interesting. In all the times that we've talked, we actually haven't addressed this. Like, how has COVID affected the industry in terms of, okay, for a year, they weren't making movies, or they were making movies with masks and you were in a bubble. What did that do to filter down from the box office to the platform to the actual people working in the industry, in the editing and behind the scenes industry?
It's a good question, Jason. You hear any behind the scenes stories?
Well, I mean, other than everybody says Tom Cruise saved the movie industry.
He's got two in 4 months that have been like the biggest box office draws of the year easily.
He went from being super strange to crazy to suddenly saving the movie industry, all in like it's over COVID. But post-production, though, I mean, Josh and I think you could speak to this too, is that I think it was trending that you could work anywhere. And, during COVID, we were interviewing colorists and stuff that were doing stuff with iPads with directors in a car that, now there's applications that, like Resolve, that work on iPads, and all that stuff was trending that way. I just think it hit the fast forward on it. I think people now want more human interaction, and not over like this, but when it comes to work, to talk about things and screen things, like Josh saying, the reactions of movies and things like that, even when you're screening stuff with people, I think you get a different reaction right away and know more than if you're just talking about it after the fact on Zoom, or whatever you but definitely post changed. Go ahead, Josh.
I don't know. I think that I remember that color correction panel very vividly, and these are people in LA saying like, we'll never. Now that we've sort of like the forcing mechanism of having to get like a color calibrated iPad to stream a cut to do evaluations and do the rounds of notes is possible, and not only possible but easy to do, and it doesn't have any negative effect on that final product. They'd still go in to do a certain number of rounds or a certain amount of work together, but the idea of commuting 2 hours multiple times a week to do that job, to do the review job, they said they'll never do that again. It's such a waste of time just to get to the place to do the same work when you can just have it, with zero lag streaming to an iPad that's calibrated and delivering you, very similar experience. Which I also say, like, with Jason, even after we were back in person, to your logic was like, dude, I'm going to lose 2 hours of work time coming in, and I can get more done working at home. And I guess this isn't true of everybody. There's a lot of people who would just watch a lot more TV and not work if they were working from home. But, for people like Jason who don't know how to not work and relax, you get more done. Like, that's not having to commute, I think, was a side benefit of the pandemic, and that people could get more work done and still collaborate. But with the idea that there is still that in-person, experience, just less frequently. It's not required to happen on a day-to-day basis. It's a little bit more, of a, I don't want to call it a special thing, but it's, I think that there's something more, precious about it. And you do it for different, it's shifted the way people work, and in terms of color correct it in a positive way.
So that's super interesting because, as you guys know, and now the world will know, my son is in film school, and it used to be the place to be was LA. You had to be in LA, and that was the only place to be because that was where the movie industry is. So now, post COVID, are people realizing that you can work on software anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world? I guess you can have these huge files in the cloud. I mean, how does it work in the industry in terms of, like you were saying, collaboration? Like, we're on Zoom right now, but the question is, how are teams collaborating? Are they in the same room, or are things happening in different parts of the country?
Well, Jason, Alan told us about how he works, right? There's like a massive server. So we know a guy, we did a Filmmaker U course on reality TV and nonfiction editing. And so I guess he's working on an Avid from home, but the media is on a massive server and it's all centralized. So it's not cloud-based the way that you would think of it, but there's an accepted amount of lag time or latency, but you can still perform an edit with almost the same kind of timing and then play it back to evaluate it that you would if you were sitting in the room with a giant hard drive sitting next to the computer. So, that's opened a lot of doors for remote editing, remote collaboration, and things like that. I mean, that's kind of what he was getting at, right, Jay?
Yeah, I think so. We've also talked to some visual effects people, and I think they have technology now that helps them run these crazy visual effects stuff via their homes. They don't have the machine bandwidth. They have something that connects them to it, and do all that stuff. And I think the biggest thing is security, with a lot of this stuff. And it seems like the leaks are not, I feel like there was more leaks prior to this. I don't know if stuff, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's they whatever they've done to figure it out, it seems to grown at the same pace as this problem of, when we had COVID, and now it's like, like Alan, does he ever go in? I think he goes in not that much.
And he will, but very seldom. And it's not because they have like a team meeting or something. It's because occasionally there's work that I guess has to be done in a certain suite at his facility. But he's a freelancer, so he'll be at a different place, and he'll have a different work style in one job than he does in another. He'll be cutting on Avid for one, and he'll be cutting on Premiere for another. So it's there's a lot of variation to how it works, and it really changes job to job. If you were on staff like our friend Tom, I think is on staff at ABC News. I'm probably getting that wrong, but he has an office and he can also work from home, but he has a place where he can just hop into an edit suite and work in an office any day he wants.
So it's really interesting, since you guys are the Manhattan edit workshop. You're one of the very few, if not one of the very few, in-person classes right now being offered for editing in the film industry in the New York tri-state area. I don't want to assume anything, but maybe they exist in LA also, or other parts throughout the country. But you're also offering online courses. What's happening right now at the workshop?
Yeah, I mean, we had to go strictly online for a portion, and then we've now been able to do both. So we've been able to maintain most of our classes to still be online, but also we are now doing in person, which seems to be the majority of people want to do in person. So we have both options, and obviously if someone gets sick or something like that, now we can, still continue to teach them as long as they have a system at home. But I think what we were encountering was people didn't have the right system at home or the right applications, or were confused on how to set it up because some of them are new or not accustomed to a Mac or a PC or whatever. And you eliminate that by letting them come in, and they get the, one-on-one immediate answers that you don't quite get exactly with Zoom or something like that. I mean, you still get it. It's just not, someone looking over your shoulder and putting headphones on and listening to your cut, for example, for the 6 week. It's just a little bit of a different avenue.
But we routinely run hybrid classes. So where it was all online during the pandemic for obvious reasons, I think, just the other week we had like 2 in-house in person and 3 online. And, I think it varies from instructor to instructor, the ease with which they can accommodate an in-person student and online students, but it's certainly possible. And I don't think we really had anyone say, my experience was dramatically diminished because I was an online student. It's the same instructor teaching the same material live. So it's not canned, or prepackaged instruction. It's not a YouTube video or something. It's still that experience, and they are able to hear the rest of the room and interact with the rest of the room because we mic the classroom and the instructor. So they get to be part of the conversation that's happening with the in-person students, whether they're sick or whether they're coming from a place where, excuse me, some of these people just can't, they're not in New York and they want to take the class.
I'm curious, have you followed up with your alumni to see where people have gone on to? Are people staying in New York? Are they heading out to LA? Are they traveling the world and doing their jobs? Are they getting jobs? What's been your experience?
I mean, we've always had a segment of people that migrate to LA. I think you're always going to have that. It's, that's the nat, like you were talking about earlier, like that's always seemed to be, a gravity of that people doing. But, we have a friend who was a student and became our friend, who he kept working for New York, but his wife got a job in Boston. I think you know who I'm talking about, Josh. And he maintained his work. So he works remotely, but, and we had another guy that used to work with us. He now edits for a thing in Colorado. So I think there's a segment of people that leave, but I think, it's still relatively the same ratio. You know what I mean? Like 80% stay, 20% leave. But we are opening doors to this online thing where we have students now that sign up from the West Coast. And so, it is a little bit different. It has evolved.
And just in terms of closing statements, are you looking forward to any blockbusters this summer? Any upcoming events that people should know about when they're watching this? Because this video is going to go viral. So, what should people look out for? Jason, Josh?
Is Josh frozen? Is he frozen?
He doesn't look frozen, but I believe he's frozen. So, Jason, why don't we? Yeah, he's not only frozen, he's gone.
Well, we have an event coming up on July 20th about the sound design and sound of the Bono and the Edge documentary that was on Disney, I think, with David Letterman. And so we have that debuting, and that's free, and that's online, and you can sign up for that at any time. Obviously, we have tons of classes coming up that are running over the summer. Our normal, Media Composer and Premiere Pro, After Effects, Resolve, all that stuff. Movies I'm looking forward to. I don't know. You know what it is? My kids wanted to see The Elementals. I don't know if you know that movie.
No.
And they ran out and saw it. It's a Pixar movie. So it's like I said, when we were talking earlier, like Josh is more into the, like you are, into like seeing the movies that are like John Wick. I wish I could go see John Wick.
Yeah.
But there's no way, it's a whole process with a babysitter and everything.
Right.
So I'm stuck in streaming land still a little bit, unless it's like a big thing. What movie are you looking forward to coming out?
So it's kind of funny because people don't ask me about movies. They say, what kind of music are you looking forward to? So I'm seeing Bruce Springsteen at the end of the summer. So I'm really looking forward to that. But because I've been
seen him before? Have you ever seen?
I've never seen the Block.
I haven't either, but I'm sure
never seen. So Wednesday, August 30th at the Meadowlands, I believe. And in terms of movies, I've been traveling so much, so I'm stuck on a plane for hours on end. So yes, I saw John Wick 4. I saw Creed 3. Not as good as John Wick 4.
Is Creed 3 as good as Creed or Creed 2?
No, not in my professional movie watching armchair opinion. I just have one question, because I'll spoiler alert. Creed, the son of Apollo Creed, was in a group home or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Why does a multi-millionaire son of a boxer go to a group home? That didn't make sense to me. That didn't make sense to me. That
makes
a celebrity
sense to a better story. That's what it makes sense for.
Yeah, but besides that, Indiana Jones is getting some buzz that's around. I didn't know Harrison Ford was still, alive and acting. But I like the trend of working with older actors and putting them into modern movies. So Harrison Ford was either the teacher or the grandfather of the last Indiana Jones that I was watching. He was either the father or the grandfather of the main character. So he didn't have the main role. And sort of like in Creed, Sylvester Stallone was he
mentor.
He was the mentor, but he was not in Creed 3, but he was an executive producer. And I also like the trend of when there are cameos being made by older actors, and they have like a bit role. I can't remember right now who had a big movie out and he played a minor role.
You know what Harrison Ford was great in? You see the show Shrinking?
No, I never saw that. And that's not Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
No. It's about it's about psychiatrists and stuff like it. But he's a bit role in it, but like he plays he's perfect in it. I highly recommend that show. It's funny, it's real, like feelings, and he's just like perfect in the role that he plays, and he's not the main character at all.
Yeah. Um, I feel like there's a movie recently where I saw Pierce Brosnan um had like he's an older man now.
Mhm.
You know, so you have these amazing actors from 10, 20, 30 years ago, and they're making cameos. And I think that's been somewhat of a trend to like bring back the nostalgia of
Yeah.
getting these actors in. But I cannot remember. I did see, just to end on a funny note, did you see the movie Eurovision with Will Ferrell?
No.
So so Pierce Brosnan was played like the father of like and they would call him, they would refer to him as the very handsome older man. The very handsome older man.
Funny.
Yeah. All right. So I'm Raphi Salem. This is Jason Banke for Manhattan Edit Workshop. We hope you've enjoyed just hearing us chatter about the industry, about film editing, and about the latest movies. And we'll see you next time. Take it easy.